Hi, it's Maija here, and today I thought I'd talk about my current favorite teas, but also try to match them with book recommendations. So first is my go-to everyday tea, and that is Clipper's Organic Fairtrade Earl Grey tea. And this of course black tea with natural bergamot flavoring, and I drink this with milk. This I decided to pair with a couple of my go-to authors, whose stories I also think would go well with this tea. You're probably already tired of hearing me talk about her, but she is one of my go-to authors, and that is Ursula Vernon, writing under the name T. Kingfisher, and out of all of her books, I think Jackalope Wives and Other Stories would go well with some Earl Grey. These are mostly fantasy and fairy tale short stories with no-nonsense main characters. Soulless by Gail Carricker would also go very well with Earl Grey. This is set in paranormal steampunk Victorian London, and the story starts with Miss Alexia Tarabotti killing a vampire when all she wanted to do was drink some tea. Alexia is soulless, which means that she can change paranormal creatures back to mortal as long as she is touching them. And this one has vampires and werewolves and evil scientists and adventure and romance and lots of tea drinking. Second of my current favorite teas is Dirty Chai by Celestial Seasonings, and this is masala chai plus bold espresso. And this one has Assam black tea mixed with spices like cinnamon, ginger, black pepper, cardamom, Chinese star anise, cloves and nutmeg, and also roasted chicory, 10% of espresso, natural flavor and vanilla bean. Wings from Wings and Ink introduced me to the concept of dirty chai, and I thought it sounded delicious, although I was a bit apprehensive with mixing tea with coffee and how that would work, but it's so delicious. This one is pretty hard for me to get, so when I find it I always buy more than one pack. And I drink this when I feel like drinking coffee, but also want something with comforting spices. And the coffee brings this dark, more full-bodied tone to the tea, and this one I drink with more milk than any other tea. So I had to come up with book recommendations for something a bit dark, but also comforting. The first one that I chose was The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, and this is an adventure mystery book that takes characters from Gothic classics and puts them all together in Victorian England. The main character is Mary Jekyll, but we also have Diana Hyde, Beatrice Rappaccini, Justin Frankenstein and Catherine Moreau. This one has secret societies, immoral scientists and this wonderful gothic sensibility throughout, but it's not horror and it has this whimsy of adventure which makes it comforting, and I also loved all the backstories of all the girls. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier is another one of those dark but comforting reads, and this one is a classic gothic mystery romance where our young heroine marries this dashing widow Maxim de Winter and goes with him to his estate, Manderley, without knowing much about him or his past, and there's the shadow of Maxim's late wife Rebecca that haunts her thoughts. This book is so atmospheric, and it was this dark atmosphere that made me recommend it here. My third current favorite tea is Genmaicha, and this is green tea with roasted rice, and for this one I don't have a specific brand. This is one with some matcha added to it. I love the roasted flavor, a bit reminiscent of popcorn, added to the fresh taste of green tea. And most people I know don't actually like this, but I love it. And of course, since this is green tea, I don't add milk or anything to this. And coming up with recommendations for this was pretty difficult. Do I go with roasted? Do I go with something that's a good combination? So I went with The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, and to be fair, the first reason why I thought of this was because of the word roasted and because this starts with fire. But then when I thought about it, this also combines a lot of story elements and plot points that all work perfectly together. In the middle of Apocalypse, Essun searches for the daughter that her husband has kidnapped. There's also this young girl in this state-run school where she is thought to use her earth-controlling abilities for the good of the people who keep her. And then there's also this young woman from the very same facility who is sent on a mission. In the book, they will learn terrible secrets of the world around them and also try to survive amid prejudices that could very well kill them. For my second recommendation, I decided to add something kooky to the mix, and this is Delicious in Dungeon Volume 1 by Ryoko Kui. And I chose it because Genmaicha is Japanese and so is this manga, but also because this mixes together D&D-like fantasy adventure with the unlikely element of cooking manga. So this is about a group of adventurers who are traveling in a dungeon, but they run out of food, and the knight comes up with the great suggestion, let's eat the monsters. So it's this hilarious story of this group of adventurers trying to keep up a balanced diet by eating the monsters that they come across. And some of the characters are more into it than others. For a seasonal tea, I like English tea shop's Candy Cane, which is in their Christmas tea line, and this is an organic rooibos herbal tea with organic peppermint leaves, orange peel, cinnamon pieces, chicory, vanilla pods and natural flavorings. And this just tastes and smells so much like peppermint. I love it. I also add nothing to this tea, and the things that I want to recommend to go with this tea are something fresh and a bit candy-like, so I decided to go with 2 graphic novels. First is Gem and the Holograms by Sophie Campbell and Kelly Thompson, and this is mainly because of the art. You can probably see the colors, the wonderful candy-like colors are by M. Victoria Robado, and the whole art is just so great that it's almost like candy itself. But this is also a fresh and fun take on the old Gem and the Holograms cartoon, and it tells of Gem and the Holograms, the band, who also have this hologram machine supercomputer called Synergy, which allows the vocalist who has stage fright, Jerica, to turn into this persona of Gem. So it's about this band's adventures and their rivalry with another band called the Misfits. Then I have Nimona by Noel Stevenson, and this was a fresh feeling take on a fantasy story. The main character is a shape-shifting minion to a maybe not so evil villain. Hijinks ensue, but also some more serious plot elements, and this mixes science elements with fantasy, and that's a fun combination, and it's a complete story in this one volume. And my last favorite is a fancy tea, and this is Golden Earl Grey Tea by TWGT, which I think is a luxury tea brand, and I only bought this because I was on vacation in London, and that was the only way I could justify buying a £25 tea. So that's about around the $30 mark. So this says that it astonishes with a malty honeyed flavor, and that is true. The flavor is very honeyed. It's like a more lighter, more honeyed Earl Grey, and the color of it is also quite a lot lighter than the other Earl Greys that I've had. This is good as is, but I usually like to add just the tiniest little bit of milk to it. I think it brings out the flavor even more, but I have to be careful not to add too much because then it drowns out the taste. This one also has a beautiful container, and it's definitely like a one-off luxury kind of thing. So with this I decided to go something that to me has luxurious and elegant writing. Of course, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, I can't do a video without it. This one feels luxurious because it is so long, you can just really sink into the world, and the writing is very elegant in my opinion. And this is about 2 magicians, the younger Jonathan Strange, who is more like experimental, and then there's Mr. Norrell, who is older and more book smart. It's also about a fae that one of them inadvertently sets wild into the world, and about Old English magic. This is perfect read by your fireplace material, with beautiful writing that feels like you are reading a classic. And my final recommendation is A Stranger in Olondria by Sofia Samatar. This book also feels very elegant to me, and it's almost like a fantasy travelogue, and the golden tone of the tea also brings this cover to my mind. This is about Chevik, who is a pepper merchant's son, and he travels on his first spice-selling trip to Olondria. It's this land that he has heard a lot of stories about since he was a little kid. But he becomes haunted by the ghost of a young girl, and also gets tangled into some politics of these factions vying for power in Olondria. But the thing that sticks to my mind in this book was the descriptions of the sights and sounds of Olondria. That's why I said that it almost feels like a travelogue. It's very well described. And then also all those old stories that Chevik hears about Olondria on his travels. The land definitely has this weight of history behind it, like it's real land, and this book is just very immersively written. So those were some book recommendations based on my current favorite teas. Let me know if we share some favorites or what your favorite teas are. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in my next video.